if you're His Majesty the King, you would wonder, wouldn't you, what you've exactly done wrong, particularly to your youngest son, because each and every time, the fact that you've given your very best to them, you've done exactly what they've wanted, you've pleased them. And let's not forget, of course, when Harry was asked to be the guest editor on the BBC Radio 4 Today programme, then very quickly he made sure that his star guest was none other than his pa, his father. And Charles naturally said absolutely. And there was a wonderful, charming interview between father and son, which I always believe showed their true meaning. I think they truly did get on at that point. It seems strange, doesn't it, to find that a few years down the line, sadly, things are simply not the same. You get the picture. But moving forward, obviously, the bigger problem, the bigger issue now, is, I've been told from an excellent source, that His Majesty the King has no idea what and how and when his youngest son, the former royal known as the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, will say and do what next. Let me explain. Morning, nice to see you, chums. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome one and all, and lovely to have your company. This is an old chapel, by the way, in an area called Ravensthorpe in, of course, Yorkshire. And it's funny when you look at all of these chapels, they were so beautifully built, way back in the 1800s, and they have stood the test of time. Sadly, many are converted to another form of religion, shall we say, or badly used, but the buildings, the strongness and the structure, the true Yorkshire grit remains, as one can imagine. Some people might say the same thing, of course, for His Majesty the King. I feel incredibly sorry for him because, as I've said to you many times, anybody on this channel who's going through an illness or having a bit of a rundown time, it's not easy, and to be on the world stage, it's incredibly hard as well. People are looking at you from every angle. Have you lost weight? Do you look tired, etc.? And there he is trying to do his best as a representative, literally, of his time as king. And he never would have imagined, in my opinion, in his wildest dreams, that the problem that would be so problematic would be his youngest son. Yes, he'd had their issues in the early period. And as you saw recently, when Harry sat down with the BBC, he literally barely contained his anger towards his own father by claiming, of course, it could have all been wafted away, this problem with security, if, of course, he'd have spoken up. This is a 40-year-old guy who's still expecting his daddy to come along and solve the problem. You get the picture. I'm not being unkind, but it's just when you look at it in our bracket, you think, no, time to stand on your own 2 feet. This is the problem. Meghan, whichever way you look at it, has married a man-child and basically feels that as long as he dictates, says what and does what he wants, well, people will simply crumble. After all, he's a royal. But the biggest thing that truly hurt His Majesty the King, and you can understand this, was the fact that Harry went on there saying the BBC interview that he really wanted to make amends. Catherine, Queen William, and of course Queen Camilla all know too well that in fact Prince Harry does not want to make amends of any level. What's fascinating to find, in fact, is that they all knew that Harry had literally had that conversation with Charles Spencer regarding the name change, because he saw it as a fresh start. As I told you, this was pushed really by his wife. They believe this is more, monetization factor, and Harry and Meghan need to keep the dough rolling in. Her plot of being a billionaire and a sort of jam queen has really hit the buffers. So Harry figured that by talking to the BBC, this may make, well, literally the British public over here, particularly here in the United Kingdom, feel sorry for him. The fact that really he should be, his father's a terrible person. He should be standing up, giving him the security that he truly desires and needs. This, of course, is a man living in a house far bigger than is necessary, so it requires a lot of security. But the turning point, the true turning point, was Harry had no idea, literally, that the Spencer family had already been in touch to alert His Majesty the King about Harry's true intentions. And if Harry felt that in fact he had another side of the family that was supporting him, meanwhile his major family, as he calls them, were not, then truly he needs to think again. It all boils down to one thing. This, according to a source, is exactly what Harry will do to keep the woman that he says has saved him from the, fateful sort of demeanour of his family. This is the woman, he says, that he plans to spend the rest of his life with. The thing is, does she? Neil Sean, Ravensthorpe, West Yorkshire.